plot centers around reliving your high school years. I was wondering if there were any people that you haven't seen since high school that you would love to see again. And also, the ending of the movie leaves open to the possibility there's a sequel. Can you talk a little bit about a possible sequel?
Is there anyone from high school we'd like to see again?
That you haven't seen since high school, either a student or teacher?
I'm pretty close with all my friends from high school, personally. I grew up in LA and I live there, so I get to see them quite often, probably too often. Probably still too embedded in that world, actually. And we would all love to make a sequel. It's dependent on if a big audience shows up to see the film. And if they do, then we would all love to make a sequel. So it's not really up to us, but I think.
Do you have an idea already for it? Because it sounds like there's a major hint at the end.
I think we have some ideas, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, probably my high school sweetheart, Susan Ronsley, or Kenny Bellick, I played football with. But yeah, I'd love to do a sequel. Please go see the movie.
If you guys write nice stuff, it will be more possible to have a sequel. Because then people will read that and go, oh, that movie's good.
I don't want to
It's
see
not some
nobody.
shitty TV show.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see nobody from high school. I'm fine.
Hi guys, 21 Jump Street is an iconic address. I want to know, what was the road like for all three of you to that address? Was it rough, was it smooth, and did you go by grooves?
Mine was a dream come true to get to 21 Jump Street. Been rapping since I was yay high to a horsefly. And got discovered in 1990 by John Singleton. And been doing great comedies and hope one day I will work with the great Jonah Hill. My dream came true.
Yeah, no, look, I just grew up in the South and played football, and that was it. I didn't like school whatsoever, and I was happy to just even get out of high school. and then I got seen on the street for modeling, and that took me all around the world, and then I fell into acting, and I haven't been doing anything since. Fell in love.
The road from my whole life to here, or?
No, just the film.
Oh, well, I've been with this movie for 5 years, so from the age of 23 to 28, and doing this press junket, I realized that most of my 20s have been spent thinking about this movie in some capacity and working on this movie. It's the only movie I've been with since the beginning till the end, and I don't know, I'm just really glad that I got to work with all these talented people and that the movie's good, because it would have been a really big waste of 5 years of my life. You know?
Your entire 20s.
Yeah, it would have been a waste of my entire 20s, except for some other minor successes I had. But I'm just so proud to be up here, dressed as a moron, and I don't know. The movie's awesome. We wouldn't be here if we weren't all super proud of it. I think it's we're all having a really fun year and in fun places in our career, and I think it's exciting to go on the road together and really show the movie. Like, we're not scared of showing it. That's the best feeling. Sometimes you have a movie and it sucks and you don't want to show it to people and you're trying to sneak it by. We're putting it out there because we're like, this thing is great, and we hope that's our best foot forward.
Hi guys. I'm curious about Jonah's writing of the film, and then also the part that improv plays in it. Was there a lot of improv on 21 Jump Street? And we have a mix of established comic actors and guys who are not so well known for comedy. So I wondered what that was kind of like to kind of riff back and forth with the guys who are better known for humor, and also what it was like for Mr. Hill to sort of have written it and then let it go where it had to go, improv-wise.
Well, I mean, I was started off with Mike Bacall, who was the screenwriter, who is a really talented, unique, wonderful, weird man. And then, so we had a couple years on it where we were, hammering out the characters and a lot of the stuff that happens. But then when we hired Phil and Chris to be the filmmakers, they came on and really added so much of the flavor of the film and, so much of the movie. Like, it's interesting. I really look at the movie and see so much of, it's cool to see so much of what Mike and I added, so much of what Phil and Chris added, so much of what Channing and Cube and Riggle added. It feels like these guys made a transition from animation into live action in a really cool way, where they made a really grounded movie that still has like the drug sequence and things that have animation elements in it, and their pacing and their editing and the way the film moves so quickly, and it just has a unique tone that they really made the movie different than it would have been if any other directors made it,
And what was it like for the non-comedic guys to delve into this kind of comedy?
Go ahead, Channing.
I got a phone call from Jonah when I was in Toronto shooting for a movie, and I wasn't sure why he was calling me, but he really did tell me about his passion for Jump Street and how long he's been working on it. And they sent me the script over email, and they only sent me about 50 pages. And I was like, well, is there an ending? And they said, yeah, we'll send that to you. But I didn't really need to read it.
We need an answer first.
I didn't need to read it, though. I mean, I really didn't. I've watched this kid forever, and I'm a huge fan. And I don't think Cube was on just yet, but then the directors called me. And it just seemed like some of the most fun that I've ever read of the 50 pages that I read. And I just sort of was like, all right, man, if you promise me that I'm gonna be funny, then I'll sign on. And he did, man. He really helped me and held my hand all the way through it. And they created a great stage for you to be safe to fail, and not feel bad if you don't know your way into a joke, or I know that there should be something funny in here, but I don't know how to do it. And they, everybody helped me out.
Yeah, it was a tight script. It was written very well. Only had to add a little salt and pepper, that's all, so I think it was pretty much
perfectly written.
It was perfectly written, as I said. And, it was a great script, man, and we didn't have to do too much heavy lifting at all. Just show up and have fun.
Yeah, and everybody else, including this gentleman and everybody else on the entire cast, with like Jake Johnson and Ellie Kemper and Chris Parnell and Bree and Davey and everybody, we all cast them because they were able to think on their feet and be really quick and good improvisers and keep up with these guys. So I think we knew from the beginning we wanted to incorporate a lot of improvisation, because obviously got one of the best in the business.
And I think one of Chan's strengths is being in the scene and having a clear intention about what he's doing, and it made it easy for him to play the kind of like comedy games that will happen in a scene and improvise, because he's just reacting in a natural way to what's going on. And I thought that's, when we sat down to talk with Channing, he was so funny and great to hang out with, but you could tell the way he thought as an actor was going to help him a ton, and that he was going to be a natural.
Thanks, man.
I haven't said anything. Let me jump in on something. Might as well.
All right, Rob, real quick.
No, when we and this is a reiteration.
Actually,
hold on.
you understand about comedy.
If this is a reiteration, I apologize, but it's true, and I think what's important to understand is the environment was awesome. Jonah, Chris, and Phil, they did a great job of setting an environment where you felt like you could play. Because even when the cameras weren't rolling, we were over by craft services, we were messing with each other, we were playing, we were doing bits. And Channing knows his way around a bit. Don't let him fool you. He's a funny guy. He knows his way around a bit. He didn't know what the name of it was. It's improv, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's wildly talented, and we had fun off camera. And then when you get in front of the camera, that improv and that play, that sense of connection and energy, that it just continued to go. And everybody up here knows their way around comedy. And Jonah and these guys did a great job of setting an environment where you felt like, hey, I can take a chance. So give these guys a lot of credit.
Over here. Oh, please. There is a joke in the movie in the beginning about how, you know, the police force is basically just recycling an old idea. Nobody comes up with anything new. And I'm wondering, for you guys, what was it about 21 Jump Street that was the perfect vehicle to recycle and make it into a movie? And why, you know, the show was not exactly a comedy. Why, you know, what made it perfect to turn it into a comedy?
I mean, honestly, they came to me first. There was just a dramatic script that Neil Moritz had, and I was really against it. Like, I really did not want to make a TV show into a movie. I thought that was like as the joke said, it's like really lazy and stupid and eye-rolling and unoriginal and all of those things. But really, the idea of getting to relive. There was like a Back to the Future element that everyone up here, when we all talked about the movie, understood and connected with, was like the Back to the Future element of reliving your high school years. And what is that like? And what is funny about that? What is sad about that? What is, difficult and fun? And what if you think you have all the answers and you go back and you have none of the answers? And that to me is a really, really strong idea for a movie. And a really fun idea for a movie. And then what if that was like a Bad Boys meets a John Hughes movie? And, that was what got the train moving. So whether it was called 21 Jump Street or it was called Narcs or it was called Two Cops Go Back to High School, I don't really give a shit. Honestly, that idea was what captivated me and wanted me to have a train that went forward, And then the original show had so much fun stuff with it as well, like the chapel. These guys, Phil and Chris, really. I had really not cared about any of that stuff. Like, I really, really didn't care. I really didn't care. Because I had friends who had made remakes of things, and they spent so much time thinking about, we got to put that one little secret thing in from the show, and 2 people in the audience give a shit about it, and the rest of the audience is like, I just want to see a good movie, So for me, it was like, how to make a good movie? I don't really care. And these guys added so much fun stuff from the show that it actually got me excited again about the show, like the chapel where we all, the church where 21 Jump Street is and all that stuff. It did feel exciting when you walked in there. It did feel like you were walking into the show, It was cool.
Have you seen the show in a while?
What?
It's pretty funny. Yeah. The show's still, it's pretty funny. I was a fan of the show. I watched it every single Friday. It came on right before this weird other little show that I liked, Friday the 13th, about haunted antiques. With a teacup that would kill the person drinking it, and a record player that would kill people. But no, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really think that, you have to call this thing 21 Jump Street. But I'm happy that we do because I like the show. and we play some good homages. My bad.
I don't remember Korean Jesus in the original. I was looking for it in the DVD and I couldn't find it.
There were some liberties taken. But we did try to put a lot of details because we also grew up watching the show and had a special fondness and nostalgia for it. And while the tone obviously is very different,
Wildly different.
And we wanted to make sure that people who weren't aware of the show would enjoy it because, as Jonah was saying, the concept's so universal. We also wanted to put in a lot of little details for people who were fans of the show so that, that they had something to really hang on to.
And when we looked at the script that Jonah and Bacall had put together, we thought it did have that feeling of like, it's Bad Boys meets John Hughes. And we're like, that's really cool. What if the twist of the 21 Jump Street movie is that it's pretty good? and that was kind of our like radical take on it. Like, what if you took something that seems cynical and try to take it seriously and make the characters work and try to make it as good a movie as possible?
Underneath the comedy, you guys have to handle guns and you have to do all this, working out and beforehand doing all the training exercises. So talk about that aspect of the film, what that was like for you to actually work with the guns. I don't know if you've done that before.
I'm pretty comfortable with weapons. I've done a lot of, this person next to me has the worst gun safety that I've ever been around in my entire life. I would have to come over and be like, okay, this one's for real. This one's for real now. We actually have weapons and bullets in the gun.
I had a problem because there's a guy whose job it is to give you a gun, right? And it's a real gun, and it's loaded with blanks. And I had not been around guns before and stuff, so I was like, I went with a cop and trained how to shoot guns. I was a pretty good shot.
Actually, pretty good shot.
Yeah, it's so, thanks. Appreciate that. And so this guy is responsible for giving you a gun, right? And so my thing was like,
I'm gonna point it at your junk and pull the trigger.
yeah, I'm like, it better not be loaded because I don't want to die. I don't want him to die. I don't want any of my actors or anyone around the set to die. And you're the guy whose job it is to make sure no one dies, okay? And that's a very serious job. So every time he gave me a gun, I pointed it at his genitalia and I pulled the trigger. And I was like, you're never gonna hand me a loaded gun because you don't want to not be able to have kids ever again. So he would give me the thing and I would point it at his junk, and the gun was never loaded. It was never loaded once. Because I think it's crazy that you're on a set with people who don't know how to use guns, and you're giving them actual live weapons. I thought that was the scariest, weirdest energy to put on a set. And obviously we found this way funnier than you guys did. The guy was a joke between me and the guy.
So did he have a squib and he just to get the blood out? Because you didn't actually shoot a blank to him.
Oh, no, we didn't actually kill people.
No,
they were like squibs and stuff, yeah. No, we would just joke around a lot, but obviously when it came to the actual gun safety, we were like really serious about it.
We should have squibbed his shorts though.
Yeah, that
one day. I don't know why we didn't do that. That's a good pitch. We blew it.
But, I mean, as far as action went, Channing had done a bunch of action movies, and Phil and Chris and I had done 0 action movies, so, we really took his lead on how to handle those scenes authentically.
Channing improvised a stunt in one shot. He was like, guys, I think I could jump over this car if you want. I'm like, really? Can you just do that in the moment?
Remember when it didn't work out?
I know.
That one was really fun.
I'm sorry.
My foot went through the window and one went on top of the car, so I literally just bisected my junk. That was fun.
It's strong though. You have steel junk. Steel junk. We're a superhero.
Sorry to interrupt. One of the other big jokes in the movie is the way that teen stereotypes are flipped on their heads. So that in the high school setting, down is up, nerds are cool, jocks aren't anymore. When did that idea enter into the screenplay? And for all of you, if you went back to high school, do you think you'd be in a similar situation based on your persona then? Would you suddenly be the popular kid as Jonah Hill's character is?
I think, originally we thought, he should hang out with nerds and I should become cool. But Phil and Chris had a funny idea to make it that the cool guys were into, the environment and stuff, green stuff. That was all their idea, which was really funny, I thought. At Dave Franco, because when I was in high school, we could care less about the environment. We had no sense of, there was a problem with the environment, and then now that a kid who was the most popular kid in school would care about recycling and stuff was a really funny idea on their part. And but originally, from the get-go, I wanted to become a guy who got lost in the sun, who got lost in his moment in the sun and got to have the fantasy of becoming the coolest guy in school and getting lost in that and ditching his friend and Chan. I thought it was funny once Channing came on to really have him be around nerds. I thought it was funny because when he met these kids in the audition, the kids we knew we had to hire, it was because it was like him meeting E.T. for the first time or something. It was literally like a guy meeting aliens. He had never hung around people like this before. Dax and you together were so funny. The kid who's the main nerdy kid that Chan becomes friends with, and them two together was so interesting. Like just them talking, just a 2-shot of them talking was fascinating, right? I mean, in the audition,
that was
it was really
amazing.
funny.
Yeah, we went to Santa Monica High School and a bunch of high schools and hung out and went to the Santa Monica High School prom. Tried to get into an after party, but we're not allowed. They said, "Get out of here, you narcs."
Is there another director that you guys?
Yeah, we also
Yeah,
ran
Joe
into.
Nussbaum was there for that movie Prom. And then we got into a weird competition between like who could like get more real stories from kids, and I felt kind of intimidated by him. But basically,
we won because Prom was a very authentic. It's exactly how my prom was.
Yeah, but anyway, a lot of the kids that we talked to all said the same thing, which was like, it's not like they depicted in movies anymore. Like, it's not like the quarterback is the coolest guy in school, and now the social groups are totally different. And it seemed like at Santa Monica High School, these like kind of socially conscious enviro guys were like the coolest ones, and so we're like, that's really funny.